For more than 30 years, she's been at the centre of some of Ireland's biggest current affairs stories, having reported on everything from the Good Friday Agreement to the most recent presidential election.
And she joins us in studio today to discuss her new memoir. Please welcome Miriam O'Callaghan. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to be here.
It's lovely to have you in studio.
Yeah.
And we're looking at your book here. This is 20 years in the making.
I know, it took a while.
Oh, so why now?
It's a very good question. And like most things in my life, Alan, I don't know why now.
All right.
But 20 years ago, Penguin came to me and said, would you ever think about writing a memoir? And I thought, yeah, sure, maybe. And they gave me a contract. Luckily, I didn't sign it. And I just never wrote it. And in truth, I decided not to write it because I couldn't work out. I have a large family, Alan. I've lots of siblings. I've a big extended family. I thought, how do I write a memoir and not hurt anyone and yet make sure it's truthful? Yeah. So I decided not to write it. But then there's this fabulous woman called Patricia Deevy in Penguin. She never gave up on me. She'd sidle up to me at the Book Awards every year where I present the awards. Say, Miriam. And then, very gently, and then 2 years ago, she just said, Miriam, if not now, when? And I thought, she's right.
Yeah.
So I wrote it. I actually went up to the top bedroom in our house the following morning and I started writing at 5 a.m. Wow. So whatever she said, it worked.
And every single... When it was announced that you were bringing out the book...
Yeah.
It started again this year. Oh, she's running for president.
Oh, yeah.
And this has happened since before 2011. Miriam O'Callaghan is running for president. And you do go into it in the book to be like, I have never had the hubris to think that anyone would want me to be president,
absolutely.
that I would think I would be that popular enough. One day you mention Alan Hughes in the book of him deflecting away from you
was so
at a
to
Laura
me.
Lynn thing to be like, oh, look at me, I'll feed it over here so you don't. People are obsessed with this president thing. Clearly, you have not run for president. We've got a new president.
I know.
Was that what was that about to you?
It's kind of weird because you were there that day, do you remember? And we were doing a launch together for the lovely charity Laura Lynn, the Children's Hospitals. I don't know, Miriam, it doesn't go away. Like even the other day, I was walking down Henry Street because I did the Late Late, and so many people said, I saw you last night. You should definitely run for the president. We have literally just appointed a new president.
Give us another 7 years. We never know what'll happen.
Come back in 7 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you've done because you know you're a solicitor. You've done Blackhall. This is what you did when you finished school. You call yourself a shy teenager. You went to college. Did your leaving cert when you were 16. All this kind of stuff. You end up in TV in London after you met your first husband Tom McGurk, and you end up moving to London at a very young age. And you work with Eamonn Andrews. Your first job is on This Is Your Life.
I loved him. And you know, in TV reception in RT, there's a big statue of Eamonn. Yeah. And every night on Tuesday and Thursday when I'm leaving primetime, I say, good night, Eamonn, and thank you for being so good to me. Yeah, it was my first job. And I had never met him before. I just randomly went for an interview and I got the job. Well, I didn't actually get it, but the first person didn't accept the job as a researcher. So I got it, happy days. But I always remember even going to Hollywood. Like, I'd come from Cornell's Court. I was the most boring person in the world. And I was a lawyer. And suddenly I was in Hollywood and we were doing Bob Hope and meeting people like this. And then we stayed up late one night, very late, and then the phone rang on my hotel room, Hollywood Boulevard we were on, and it was Eamonn Andrews at about 8 in the morning saying, Miriam, I'll meet you downstairs in 5 minutes. I said, oh, lovely, Eamonn. I said, why? I said, we're going to Mass. And I was thinking, all those amazing places I'd been in Hollywood, but he kept me grounded. We went down Sunset Boulevard, we went to a beautiful Catholic church, we went to Mass, and I learned so much from that man. Never to take yourself seriously, always remember who you are, do the right things.
And has that followed you throughout your career?
I hope I'm not a pain in the butt. And I kind of learned that from him, which is he never forgot who he was. And he was a massive star. Like, This Is Your Life.
Andrews, This Is Your Life. Huge.
Was getting 24 million viewers. He was a huge star. Yeah. But he was always just so lovely. He was like my father, actually.
Oh, that's so cute. I mean, look, when you're looking at the book and you're talking about your career, but obviously family plays a huge part in your life. And you talk beautifully about your family. And especially, I personally know what it's like to lose a sister and a brother to cancer. And you lost your beautiful sister, Anne. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and first of all, I'm so sorry to you too, Alan, because I think anyone who has lost someone they love, you never really get over it. So There were 5 of us in the family, 5 siblings, and I was the second. And my sister Anne was born a year younger than me, so we're supposed Irish twins. And we started to have kids together in our early 30s. I had my first daughter when I was 26, but in the early 1990s, we had 6 little girls between us, so we hung out all the time. Anyway, long story short, she was sitting on the front step of my house. One day we were holding our baby daughters together, and this was 1994, and she said she didn't feel well, and we'd been out, and I thought, she probably has a hangover, you know, like 5 months later she died of stomach cancer, and she was 33, and she had a little girl of 2 and a little girl of 4, and a devoted husband, and I could not believe she died. It was my BC and AD, and I still get upset thinking about it because I think how cruel life is. And yeah, my parents were just beautiful people. My mum's still alive, but they were from the country. And my dad came from a small holding. He had very little money, grew up in a lot of poverty the generation before him. And I remember being in the lift in St. Vincent's Hospital the day before Anne died, and they're an amazing hospital. And my dad, who was a man of few words, a Kerry man from Currow, outside Castle Island, he just started to cry in the lift with me and my mum. He said, "Miriam, we're losing the jewel in our crown. We're losing the jewel in our crown." And in that moment, I was so upset for them and so angry that life had come around and kicked them in the face.
And I think every time that you've talked about this book, and I've gotten to read about Anne and your closeness, and it's beautiful. And you really are angry at the loss of her, especially for your parents and for her 2 gorgeous young children. Because she had 2 kids, and her husband, Greg, was still very much a part of your family.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, the beautiful thing is he went on to marry a gorgeous friend of ours, myself and Anne. She was called Eleanor. And my sister was kind of amazing because she was so young. She was 33, but I remember sitting in St. Vincent's a few days before she died, and she made a joke with Eleanor and she says, "Eleanor," and I was there, "you're my only single friend I trust. You have to marry Greg." And we both laughed. But you know, a good few years later, they did. Wow. She's been the most wonderful stepmother to Katie and Lizzie. And Lizzie got married recently.
Yeah. That must have been so emotional, wasn't it, that day?
It was really emotional because, and I think all my children were watching me as she walked up the garden and got married outside with her dad, and they thought, "Oh, Mum's going to be very upset now." And I was, but they were tears of joy for Lizzie, but tears of distraught for my sister being robbed of her life and not being there. But it was a very happy occasion.
Yeah. I mean, sort of going back then to that time, like that year was a terrible year for you because you lost your dad then shortly afterwards and your marriage broke down.
Yeah.
How did that year change your life?
It changed my life completely because a couple of weeks after Anne died, I went down to the west of Ireland just to get away for a few weeks with my 4 girls. And then I got a message from my brother Jim via the post office. It was kind of pre-mobile phones, just to say to phone home. Long story short, my dad was walking out the gate to get the mass card, the memorial card printed for Anne. And he got a stroke and he died a few days later. And we found ourselves sitting around in the same hospital, another bed. The same undertakers came, but everyone was so kind. And then I remember standing at my dad's grave and at Anne's before that thinking, this is my only life. This is it. I realised in the moment that life needs to be grabbed and lived. So I decided to separate. And that was, for me, a huge thing to do because I'm naturally really conservative and cautious, but I just knew it was the right thing. But I also wanted to make sure that I could do it as nicely as possible and there wasn't the collateral damage. You know, when marriages break up and grandparents lose out. I love Tom's parents. They were the most wonderful people, and his sister and Tom's daughter, Leisha, who was my stepdaughter. I still regard her as my daughter. So I worked as hard as I could to make sure it was as happy as it could be, and it worked.
I really did, because throughout the book, you're like, Leisha's always in here. Tom's new wife, like you talk about his wife, Caroline.
The most amazing stepmother.
How you're all in. And then for you, because you say at the very start of this book, there's so many things that you say, but you say that you wanted to do a book about work, but it turns out, but try as I might, work and life kept overlapping, just like on the day of Jack's christening. This is your son, where an awful tragedy happened in Northern Ireland. But you said, I don't know if that's because I'm a woman or a mother or both. or maybe it's got nothing to do with either. And it's so interesting because your life and your work and your private life kept overlapping because Steve, your now husband, he came into your life on a day, you're a single mother of four children, and you get a phone call, you're still freelance with Newsnight in BBC, working in RTE. You get a phone call going, how are you? Listen, will you do something on the old potato famine there? We've got an Irish producer. You're Irish, makes sense. It's the anniversary of it. And I can't use the word on morning television of what your first impressions of your now husband were. You didn't like him.
No, I won't use it either, but basically...
You thought he was a Rick with a different letter in front of
him. 100%. Because, they phoned me up and said, oh, Miriam, will you do a film on the 150th anniversary of the famine? We have a lovely new guy from Belfast. So he phoned me and we discussed the famine. But he said he was going to start filming up in Fermanagh. And his name was Carson. So I think it's probably a bit, I don't know what I was thinking. So I went like, if you think I'm making a film about the Irish famine, all about Northerners and you, I'm not doing that. I said, half my family died in the famine in Kerry. Anyway, we did not. I put down the phone and I thought, that guy's a total Rick.
Rick.
Actually, to be fair to Steve, he says it's his favourite line in the book.
I just didn't expect it. I just started laughing. It was so funny.
But then it turned out he wasn't.
Well, you met him and you fancied him almost immediately.
Well, I mean, we met in the Famine Museum in Strokestown, where Love Stories began.
Yes.
And actually, on our wedding rings, it's ALFWS inscribed a long way from Strokestown. But I remember walking into a big room like this, and the crew was there. And he just walked to me, and I just thought, well, apart from the fact I thought he was gorgeous, I did think he looked very kind. But I was just out of a marriage. I was attached to Tom since I was 19. So I wasn't looking for a relationship. But we did fall in love and we got together the following year.
It's such a lovely story. And your family then, the 8 children, and I mean, the thing about the president...
It's ridiculous.
The thing about the president, and you always been asked that, anytime I hear your name and people go, 8 children, how... And they're genuinely asking, how does she do it all?
Childcare.
Really?
You know the way they talk about, I always say, superstars, whether it's Angelina Jolie, they come off the plane and they're carrying all their kids. You know there's 20,000 childminders on the private jet. So the only reason I was able to do what I do is I've always had amazing childminders, Lorraine and Bridget, and Lorraine's still around my family. And I spent all my money in childcare and it worked. It worked. It was fabulous.
We see that with families trying to get childcare and you covering it all the time. You must get so frustrated then the way it's gone.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I was lucky. I had a good job. I could afford childcare. But I write at the beginning of the book about my grandmother, my mum's mum, who I adored. And she used to give me great advice. I think coming from her own frustration of not having her own money, she used to always say, Miriam, get a good job. Like, I went to free schools. I didn't grow up with money. She said, you need to have your running away money. You need to have your own living. And I never forgot that.
But there was one thing that people might not know, and this is because you really have, you know, you've told us a lot in this book, and that is after you had your first child, Alana, lovely Alana, who's a barrister herself, you couldn't get pregnant again. And you put this down originally maybe to your disordered eating when you were younger, which is something that you went through. And it turns out Peter Snow, the great BBC journalist, you were at a party and you said, oh, sure, I can't get pregnant again after Alana. And he sent you off to a fertility doctor. And next thing you ended up, you actually have PCOS. You were diagnosed with PCOS.
Yeah, I was actually. And I try to be honest, I share that because I often feel guilty that I do have a lot of children and other people haven't been so lucky with fertility. So after Alana, I couldn't get pregnant. And it was because of PCOS and probably because I, you know, had an eating disorder when I was young. But yeah, I was at a Christmas party in Newsnight and this fantastic guy said, Alana was there, kids were out, and he said, why haven't you got any sisters and brothers for her? And I said, I can't get pregnant, because I try to be honest. He said, you need our obstetrician. Sure enough, I went to this guy in Harley Street, Roger Clements. I'm his best success story.
Yes, you are.
But it's amazing.
You
Peter
are.
Snow sent you
I know.
Peter Snow.
Obstetrician.
There's another thing in the book that I kind of went, oh my God, you've got a photographic memory. Do you have a photograph like your father?
Yeah, I got that from my father. It's so handy, Miriam, because when I'm in prime time every night, I don't need to look at my cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Love that.
It's a gift in your job.
100%, Miriam. Thank you, Dad. Seriously.
That's incredible.
What must have that been like? Did you have competitions against your dad to see how much you could remember?
No, but he'd remember everything.
He'd remember everything.
I mean, you're talking about prime time. I've been 26 years doing this. You've been longer doing prime time. You're still very happy doing what you do.
I know, it's not the best negotiation tactic,
No,
Alan. I
keep saying that here.
I love where I work. I do think you've one life. Live it the way you want to live it. I love what I do. I love the team I work with. And I'm happy.
And there's so many in this. We didn't get a chance to talk about, you know, all the presidents having to report on the scandal 2 years ago with Ryan Tubridy. We didn't get to talk about Martin McGuinness' famous words he said to you. Why did you have to ask me that question after the presidential debate in 2011? It is all in here. And it's been just amazing to read. And it's lovely to get behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Miriam O'Callaghan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam and Alan.
The brand new book, Life, Work and Everything. It is out now. Now, coming up, from hurling glory to public controversy, it's a story